spring, when in fact it does not actually set on Earth because it's a lot bigger. But the Quran doesn't even say any of this. It uses the absolute strongest word available to it to tell us he found it setting in a muddy spring. For those who want to keep arguing, still when he reached the setting place of the sun, he found it setting in a muddy spring and found a people thereabout. Clearly, Dhul Qarnayn actually did find people there because he was told to judge over them. Was he told to judge over people who only appeared to him visually? Or did he actually find the sun setting in a spring of muddy water, just like he found the people? So Muslims here have to pretend that the first usage of the word wajada means something different to the second usage in the same verse. They do this with absolutely no basis from a linguistic or contextual point of view. It's only because they now know retrospectively, thanks to scientific understanding, that Dhul Qarnayn couldn't have possibly found the sun setting in a muddy spring of water, that they try this weak argument. If we look at the context of the verses before and after this one, the Quran speaks about Dhul Qarnayn being given power. The hadiths say he controlled the whole world. Some Muslims argue he was this particular historical figure or that one, but for the sake of argument, I will be looking only at what the Quran says about this Dhul Qarnayn character. So let's start at 1883, where it reaffirms what I said in the first video on this chapter, that this story was forced upon Muhammad to prove his prophethood. He was asked about Dhul Qarnayn as a test to see whether he knew the story or not. This is
Welcome to Fun Islamic Facts, where I share fun facts about Muhammad and the Quran whenever jihadis go on a killing spree. Do you know where the sun goes when it sets? Allah tells us in Surah 18 verses 83 to 86 of the Quran, where Dhul Qarnayn, the Islamic name for either Alexander the Great or Cyrus the Great, takes a little trip to the edge of the world. And they ask you about Dhul Qarnayn. Say, I shall recite to you something of his story. Verily, we established him in the earth, and we gave him the means of everything. So he followed away, until, when he reached the setting place of the sun, he found it setting in a spring of black, muddy, or hot water. And he found near it a people. We, Allah, said by inspiration, O Dhul Qarnayn, either you punish them or treat them with kindness. Notice all the scientific errors in verse 86. Allah says that there is a place where the sun sets. No, there isn't. Allah says that Dhul Qarnayn reached it. No, he didn't, because it doesn't exist. Allah says that there are people who live there. These people must be imaginary because, again, the place doesn't exist. Allah says that the sun sets in a spring of muddy water. No, it doesn't. If the sun is setting in a spring somewhere on the earth, the sun must be much smaller than the earth. No, it isn't.
Assalamu alaikum and hello to my non-Muslim viewers. I'm going to try to make this video as short as possible, so here we go. David Wood, Sam David Wood, who tried to kill his father with a hammer, was put into a mental hospital by his mother, and the master of both say that the Quran says that the sun literally sets down on earth, and it sets down on a pool or a spring of hot or muddy water. Now, is this true? No, it isn't. Now, the Arabic word wajada could mean that could mean through sight or perception or seeing. It doesn't mean that, you know, it doesn't mean a physical, it doesn't mean like you see the literal thing happening. Wajada can mean to see, to perceive, according to William Lane's Arabic Lexicon, etc., etc. So according to proper Arabic grammar, according to proper Arabic linguistics, that Arabic word could mean that the sun, to see or to perceive something. So I watched David Wood's video and the Master of's video. I watched the entire videos of David Wood and the Master of regarding when they talk about the Quran mentions that the sun literally sets down on a spring of murky water or hot water, and nowhere on those videos did they cite Tafsir ibn Kathir, which I find incredibly dishonest, because both the Master and David Wood both know that Tafsir ibn Kathir is considered one of the best commentaries of the Quran. I think it's the best commentary. I think even Shia Muslims take Tafsir ibn Kathir seriously, even though Shia Muslims follow some different a different form of Islam, which contradicts Orthodox Islam, but whatever. But my point is, Tafsir ibn Kathir is considered the most authentic and the most reliable tafsir of the Quran. It doesn't get more authentic than that. So according to, so I find it highly dishonest and a little. I find it dishonest of them that they didn't cite Tafsir ibn Kathir. Sorry, that they didn't cite Tafsir ibn Kathir, and what Tafsir ibn Kathir says about this verse. According to Tafsir ibn Kathir, let's read what Tafsir ibn Kathir says. He says he saw the sun as if in Tafsir, and Ibn Kathir is commenting on the Quran, chapter 18, verse 86. He says, he saw the sun as if it was setting in the ocean. This is something which everyone who goes to the coast can see. It looks as if the sun is setting into the sea, but in fact it never leaves its path in which it is fixed. So basically, if the Quran really was saying that the sun literally sets down on literally sets into a body of water, wouldn't Ibn Kathir, who was a Syrian, so he knew Arabic. Arabic was his native tongue. This isn't some Persian or some Roman, which would be modern day European, commenting on Quran. No, this is a Syrian, Arab, Muslim, Ibn Kathir, who knew the Arabic, whose mother tongue was Arabic, who spoke fluent Arabic. If the Arabic was as clear as day, that the sun literally sets down on a spring of hot or warm water, wouldn't Ibn Kathir actually say this in his commentary? Think about this. Ibn Kathir is a world-renowned classical Muslim scholar, right? He's well respected by Sunnis and maybe even Shias. I'm pretty sure by the Shias too. So if the Quran was literally saying that the sun literally sets, physically sets in a body of warm water, Ibn Kathir would have admitted it, but he didn't. So that means that the Arabic language, or the Arabic word wajada, doesn't mean what these critics want it to mean. It could mean that he actually perceived it. It doesn't mean that he saw something literally happen. He just saw it from his own perception, from his own mind, from his own perspective. So that's just one point. So I recently bought the Study Quran, and this is a really good Quran if you want to study, the tafsirs and the historical context behind, why certain surahs were revealed, and certain commentaries on various verses on the Quran, etc., etc. So any Muslim apologist, I definitely recommend you buy this book. But according to this Quran, let's read what they have to say about the Quran, chapter 18, verse 86. They say that that he found the sun setting in a spring, in a murky spring, is not understood literally by most commentators, but it's rather thought to describe how the setting would appear to the human eye. And Tafsir ibn Kathir confirms this, and two other commentators. According to Ibn Kathir, Jalal al-Din al-Suti in Tafsir al-Jalalain, and Tafsir, and the Tafsir of al-Tabasari, Amaja al-Bayan fi Tafsir al-Quran. So according to Ibn Kathir, according to Jalaluddin, according to Tabrisi, Tafsir al-Tabrisi, they all agree with that interpretation. And again, I'm reading from the Study Quran. And another thing I've noticed is that if the Arabic language actually allows it to mean that it sinks from view. that the sun sets from view, or the sun sinks from view. If we read, according to the Life of Muhammad, Ibn Ishaq by Alfred Guillaume, he cites a poem by Tubba, and although the poem is spurious, it says that in talking about Dorkanin, it says that he saw where the sun sinks from view in a pool of mud and fertile slime. So, according to the Arabic, of Ibn Ishaq, the Arabic word wajada can mean sinks from view. So it's not like literal, like the sun literally sets down. It can be from a perspective, from a viewing perspective. So if the Arabic was as clear as day that it literally sinks from view, then everybody would have been agreeing with that. Ibn Kathir, Tabasari, Tafsir Jalaluddin, but there's differences, but they don't agree with it. It can be, the Arabic can allow, the Arabic actually says that it's from the perspective, or it's from the sight of the person. So so basically these critics of Islam, like the Master Arab and David Wood and stuff like that, they're not being honest here, because if they were honest, they would cite Ibn Kathir, Tafsir al-Jalaluddin, Tabusi, and these but nowhere in those videos, nowhere in their videos when they talk about this, that they mention Tafsir ibn Kathir, because they know if they mention Tafsir ibn Kathir, it would refute their point, because Ibn Kathir knew the Arabic, he knew the Arabic linguistics, he knew the Arabic grammar, he knew how the Arabic language worked and stuff like that. So the Arabic language, according to these Arabic speakers and these Arabic scholars, how they understood the Arabic. The Arabic means that it's from the perspective or the point of view. It doesn't mean the sun literally sets in a body of water. It could mean from the perspective of the eye, or it does mean from the perspective of the eye, etc., etc. So in Tafsir ibn Kathir, in his commentary, it states where this idea that maybe the early Muslim scholars got this idea that the sun literally sets in a spring of warm water. He says that the idea of him reaching the place in the sky where the sun sets is something impossible, and the tales told by storytellers that he traveled so far west that the sun set behind him are not true at all. Most of these stories come from the myths of the people of the book and the fabrications and lies of their heretics. So basically, what Ibn Kathir is saying is that the people who say he literally found the sun setting physically, he found the sun physically setting. Where early Muslim scholars and where tafsirs get this idea is from the myths of the people of the book, and storytellers, the myth and the fabrications of the people of the book and storytellers. So even if some tafsirs mention that the sun literally sets in a spring of warm water, or the sun literally physically sets, this is, Ibn Kathir tells us where these early Muslim scholars are getting this idea, and possibly the idea that Dhul-Qarnayn is Alexander the Great. They're getting it from the myths of people of the book and storytellers and stuff like that. The Quran never mentions Alexander the Great as Dhul-Qarnayn. It's possible that Dhul-Qarnayn could be Cyrus of Persia instead of Alexander the Great, and I have a whole video topic on that. But regardless, that's not the point of this video. But the point of this video is that the Quran is not scientifically inaccurate here, according to the laws or the rules of Arabic grammar and the Arabic linguistics and the Arabic language. The Arabic word wajada means to sink from view, or to from a perspective, from a viewing perspective. It doesn't mean something literally. So I just wanted to clear that up. So next time, these annoying Christians or these atheists say, well, the Quran's biggest error is that the sun literally sets in a spring of warm water, or muddy water or whatever, just cite Tafsir ibn Kathir and say that, well, if the Arabic was as clear as day, that most of the time they'll be reading from English translations, but if you're arguing with some annoying Arab Christian or whatever, bring up Tafsir and Kathir and say, if the Arabic was as clear as day, that the sun literally sets in a spring of warm water, then Ibn Kathir would have said that, but he doesn't. So, and Ibn Kathir is the most important Sunni commentary of the Quran. So this person was from Syria. He knew Arabic. He knew the Arabic language, the grammar, etc. So if the Quran was if the Quran was as clear as day, if the Quran's language was clearly saying it literally physically sets down in a spring of warm water, then Ibn Kathir would have said that, but he doesn't. He says he says that this is from a perspective of the eye. This is from this is something which everybody who goes to the coast can see. It looks as if the sun is setting into the sea, but in fact, it never leaves the path. So he saw the sun as if it was setting into the ocean. And Ibn Kathir says this is something that everybody who goes to the ocean can see. It looks as if the ocean is setting into the sea, but in fact, it never leaves the path in which it is fixed. And again, this is Ibn Kathir, the person who knew the Arabic, who knew the Arabic language, who knew the Arabic grammar, etc., etc. So that's all I want to say about this specific polemic or this specific topic. Thanks so much.